Well, Dan, welcome to the line. Thank you for stepping up to the line here. We're sitting here actually on or near, I can't remember if we're on or if we're right across from the Gettysburg battlefield.
I think we're kind of maybe in the middle.
Well, I mean, there's bullet holes in this house. So
yeah, that was neat.
Clearly there was some fighting going on here.
Yes.
And so I believe it, I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I pronounced it the other day and the park ranger said that is incorrect. So we'll put it in the post notes so you guys can know where we are.
Sounds great.
But we're sitting here in front of the fireplace. It's pretty cold outside. It's December here when we're talking. I kind of wish there was a fire in there.
It would be very nice. That would feel great. Thanks for having me. Well, I'm excited.
I greatly appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Sure.
I think that time is money. And so, when you make a decision to sit down and have a conversation with me and our listeners, you're giving of yourself. And so I greatly appreciate that. So,
love being here. Thank you for having me.
So Dan, just to kind of give people a picture of who you are and what's going on, you're the CEO of a company out of Georgia called C.W. Matthews, correct?
Yeah, president is my title, but
okay.
Yes, we're based out of Marietta, Georgia. Family-owned business. Next year in 26, we'll be celebrating our 80th year in business.
80 years.
Yes. So
wow.
Great family, great industry, heavy civil is what we do. So, I just have the fortune to work with a great team leading this company, like I said, that does heavy civil. We do grading and bridge construction and asphalt paving and concrete paving. And we now have 29 asphalt plants throughout the state.
Wow.
Yes, we've expanded recently last year into Jacksonville, Florida. So that's kind of our first step outside of the state. The family, many years ago, early on, had operations in Florida, but really for the last several decades, we've just been in Georgia. So
okay.
Yeah,
that's something. I feel like I'm following you around because. Last fall, I was in Marietta, Georgia.
Okay.
Doing some podcasts. And then
great.
Before that, I was in Jacksonville. Actually, I was in Jacksonville this past September.
Outstanding.
So, yeah.
What were you doing in Marietta?
Well, there was
podcast?
We were doing a podcast, and we were also hired to promote an organization called Construction Ready.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
And they were doing an event bringing young people into the trades.
Oh, yes. I know exactly the event and the folks there. Yeah. That's great. Awesome.
I think it was called Hall County Schools we were hired by.
Great.
So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
It was great. It was great. And then Jacksonville was just hot. So
and Jacksonville is hot. But it's a great place to work in the winter, which out here today, there's probably not any asphalt being laid.
It's a little different up here in Gettysburg.
It really is. It really is.
Oh, my. So tell us a little bit about, so you're a president now, what was it in your origins? Like, who was Dan before the title? Where were you before the title?
I grew up, my dad was in construction. I'm the youngest of five. We grew up in Venezuela, in South America. My dad was born in Spain and went to Venezuela at a young age. My mom's American. By the grace of God, we were born U.S. citizens, so fortunate of that. But I grew up in Venezuela and seeing my dad work construction and really not that involved. But when I went to school, I went to study civil engineering with the idea that I would eventually go back to Venezuela and help my dad. I was kind of his last hope as far as somebody taking over the business, and it was small. My brother had also studied engineering, but he met a lady in Charleston, South Carolina, got married, and never went back. So, but unfortunately, or really, by now looking back, by the grace of God, Dad had a stroke, and then he wasn't able to work anymore my sophomore year in college. So I finished I finished college and got a great opportunity to go work for a construction company in Maryland, and from there I moved to Pennsylvania. I actually worked north of Pittsburgh for a little over a year.
Well, then you know a little bit about the cold.
Yes, that's why I wanted to head back south.
Lake Erie up there.
I love Pennsylvania. I just don't love the cold weather. I was with that other firm for 17 years, and just learned the trade, the people, the importance of leading others, and really, just like I said, just learning the trade. And I love it. I just absolutely love this industry. Love more than anything the people that do the work. That's really where I get fired up. And so got the opportunity to come to C.W. Matthews in 2013 as the operations manager. Operations and estimating was kind of my background. And in 2015, the president there of the company, who was not a family member, but had been instrumental in building the company with the family, he retired, and I was offered the opportunity to lead the group, which I'm very grateful for.
Talk to me about you say, and I was going to ask you, and then you went right into it, that you love the people. And you were specifically talking about leadership and leading people and leading teams. One, that's something that's very close to my heart. I have actually never enjoyed the work. I grew up in the trades, and in the era that I grew up, it was like, well, if you want to be successful, go to college.
Right.
But I got into the trades, and I discovered the people and what I loved about working with teams. But hone in on that for me a little bit more. Tell me, what is it specifically that you love about the people that you're working with? Like, I mean, you're here on this trip, actually, not with your family, but with your team.
Yes, with our team through this advanced leadership initiative. It's the first year that we've launched this program. And what I love is, like I said, it's just it's humble people. It's just hardworking folks that get passionate and excited about building infrastructure. It's such an amazing industry, in that you can look back at what you did yesterday and you're actually seeing the fruits of your labor. And like I said, what I found in this industry, I mean, I might have met, I have a handful of people I might have met in my 30 years of doing this that were absolute jerks. The reality is 99% of the people are just passionate, hardworking, team players, that are in it together. I almost, I think it's correlated to the military, where you have this band of brothers and sisters that are kind of have this same mission and this fire for doing stuff together. And whether things are going well or not going so great, you kind of band together and make things happen. And just kind of, again, I know that's generalizing it, but I really truly feel that's just the kind of people that work for us. I mean, we got guys with asphalt life tattoos and got
asphalt life.
It's like, I mean, they like love what they do, and that just fires me up. And like I said, I'm just energized by seeing just men and women that are willing to work 12 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week, to make stuff happen. But that brings a lot of challenges too, right? I mean, it's a tough industry. If you have family and kids and you're out of town or you're working nights and all that. So I have a very grateful heart for the people too, because they're willing to sacrifice a lot of times. So.
What do you think was there's a moment where you go from, and for me, it was when I was younger. I can remember, so I'm not putting this on you, I'm putting this on me. But I can remember I was working for me, and then I had this epiphany of leadership. And so I think that those of us who enter into leadership have a crossover moment.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's not actually about me. It's about them. It's about us. It's about the future. And so, one, do you feel like you had a crossover moment in your career? And if so, when was that?
Man, that's a great question. I think I'm going to back up. I think there's two crossover moments. One, I think as guys in general, and hopefully this doesn't come across the the wrong way. But as men, I think we don't think about anything other than ourselves till you have your first child. And then you're like,
that's
oh
a
my
good
goodness,
analogy.
now I've got somebody that's depending on me. So I think something clicks
Yeah.
when that happens first. But as far as the career part, I think it's, when I had great mentors, and I had a couple of not so great mentors that I learned from what not to do. And then I had great mentors that I've learned, hey, this is what a leader truly is.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know that I can define the exact moment, but I know that as I got the opportunities to lead people and really very strongly in the last, I would say 8 to 10 years, I've turned this corner to exactly what you said. It's like, hey, now it's about time to give back. And yes, I enjoy the operations and solving problems and all that, but what I really want to do is try to help build great men and great women that in turn build great projects. I think about that a lot. So
absolutely.
yeah, so that's more rewarding than anything else. When I see a young person get promoted, or when I see one of our foremen say, hey, my son just graduated from college and I was able to do that by the earnings that I've made working here. Whatever the case may be, that's what really gets me pumped up.
Yeah. Yeah. Dan, you make a comment there about, 8 or 10 years ago making that crossover. Is that something that you wish that you would have done sooner?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just think that, maturity and stages of life. I mean, I think you're working on providing for your family and think about the future and all that. But when that moment really gets there, like I said, it's so much more rewarding to be able to give back. Because like I said, I definitely have had my opportunity to lead this company because of people investing and pouring into me. If not, I would have never made it. I'm not the smartest guy on our team. I'm not even average in that regard. I mean, the technical side, I know it, but they could have picked other people, and I mean that sincerely. I feel very blessed to be able to be leading the teams that we have.
I had a mentor when I was young, and you talk about mentors and that being how you got there.
Yes.
And I had a mentor who he used to always say, he said, well, I want to be about your success. I can remember him saying that to me, and I didn't understand it. I was like, what do you mean? You want to be about my success? And that was his focus. He would spend hours. I remember he had a farm that he lived on, and he was a great mentor because I didn't have to pay him,
well, those are the best mentors, right? Yeah.
And we would sit on rocking chairs in front of his barn watching the fields, and I would talk about my work problems, my business problems, my life problems, and he would just listen. And every now and then ask a question that would direct me this way or that way. And it was like, and when he would say it's about your success and you succeeding, I didn't understand until recently. And he is, all his hair is white. He is very, very old now. If he listens he won't listen to this. It's a podcast. He's not going to listen to
Woo,
this.
thank goodness.
But
no, I bet he would love to hear you say these things.
Well, I shared with him that I had a moment where I was like, oh my, this is where the fulfillment comes from. When we invest in other people, when we invest ourselves in them and actually sacrifice, that is long-term vision thinking. That is next generation thinking. And the reality is we're only here on this earth for a given time. You remember the old phrase, there's two things that are for sure in life, death and taxes.
Absolutely.
And we can't escape those things, but what we can do, and quite frankly, it's not even about my legacy or your legacy. The legacy is what the people that we invest in do with their lives. That's
Absolutely.
what it is.
Absolutely. I love it. Because you're could be impacting generations, right? To
Hopefully
your point.
you are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you impact an individual, well, that individual impacts someone else. And it's very much like a ripple in a pond. it continues to go out from there.
Absolutely.
And I'm a big believer in the power of multiplication. And so it's like when I'm pressing in this, well, one investment here equals two there, two equals four, and so on and so on. I don't think I did my math right. Two times 4 is 8. There we go. I wanted you to know that I can do that.
That's great stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like you were fortunate to have somebody like that, and I was as well. So I'm thankful for that.
It changed my life in so many more ways. And I realized, you talked about you haven't really seen someone on the job maybe that was, I'll use the word jerk, since you haven't used any language like the other guy that I have on here. But I came to the realization one time that, they didn't have the experience that I have. And the reality is a lot of guys, like in one of the companies that I work with, they pay for counseling and therapy. It's part of the package. And guys in our industry really struggle. There's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
Do you want to know what my mentor was for me? A therapist.
Yes.
That is exactly what it was. Someone to be able, and to be clear, I have gone to counseling and therapy, and that's what it is. It's someone that listens to you and then talks to you and helps you through that. And we need that. And what I realized was, I remember saying to my wife when I was younger, probably in my mid-30s, a lot of my friends were struggling and going to different things and trying to seek help. And I asked her very ignorantly, I said, why am I not doing that? Why do I not feel the way that they feel? And she looked at me and she went through a list of mentors that I had in my life. And she said, oh, you have, but you went and you talked to this person and you talked to this person. And it's like, that's what we need to be about. If we're going to build something beyond Dan or Joshua, that's what we need to be about, because it's not even about C.W. Matthews. When C.W. started that, I don't think that it was all about him. And maybe like us, maybe it started that way, but then he was like, oh, and here you are 80 years later, and family isn't even the ones that are guiding the ship. And that really is how it should be, because that affects our world for a positive change.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I like to ask a couple of questions. And so we've come to the place where I want to ask you the first one. Dan, what's a tool or a piece of gear that it's just you have to have it? It's your everyday thing.
Man, that's a tough one. My coworker will tell you it's the phone. I mean, it's just so much going on, you know. It's a best and a curse all at one time, right? Nowadays, with everything going on so fast and people needing answers and all that. But gosh, I want to think that that's not the one I couldn't live without. Faith is important to me. So, I would say the good word. That's a lot of amazing things in the Bible for personal and business side. So I would say that without my faith, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm going to say that.
I think that's a good one, and I think that's one that faith drives a lot of what I do. You talk about the Bible. I remember in my late 20s, early 30s. I can't remember exactly when, but I remember when I made a decision to read the Bible in a year.
Oh, awesome!
And it was a reading plan, and it seemed really, really intimidating to me, quite frankly. And until I think I looked at what the hours are if you would sit down and read it, and it really is not more than a couple of weeks when you think about it. But it changed my life because I do it every year now. I
love
read through it every year now, and here's what I hate structure. I hate it. I hate discipline. I hate all these things, but they all are so good for me. And what I realized is when I'm reading through the Bible like that, I'm in the Word, and it is in me. And then it affects me in this way where it's like, I used to be like, well, how do I hear God? And when you're reading His Word every day, sometimes it's really dry, Numbers, Lamentations. But the reality is you're in it, and then it resonates. Just the other day, I was driving and I had this thought of something that I read because I was reading it every day, right in the moment. And I don't think that thought was random. Now, listen, you might not believe what I believe in that regard, but the reality is it works for me. and it has changed my life. And if you do believe that, I just want to encourage you in reading that every day. That's where, I believe God still speaks like he did when Jesus walked the earth. I believe that he speaks to us through our circumstances, through the people around us, and his word. And when you pull all three of those together, well, then you're able to hear the voice of God, and that changes the way that you move forward. This isn't a Christian podcast, so don't get all offended.
Man, and I didn't even know you were going to talk about, but right now I could just get up, give you a dang bear hug and a high five, because I truly believe in what you're saying. We call it, at our house, we call it God incidences, right? So when something like that comes in, or you're struggling, or you're anxious about something, and man, you read the Bible, the good, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's the answer, right? Like, I'm trying to figure all these things out and how to solve it, but having faith, and like you said, not being anxious about things that we can't control, all the answers are right there. So to your point, I didn't even know we were going to talk about it, but I share in what you're saying.
Well, I think it's important to not hide what we believe.
Yes.
And we're not shoving it down anybody's throat.
Absolutely.
But that is what we believe.
Absolutely.
One of the members of my team just said the other day, he was talking with someone, and I believe it really works. We like to call ourselves a solutions-based organization where we don't see problems, we see solutions to problems. And one of the members of my team was actually talking with someone, and he goes, well, and he didn't use my name, but he was talking about me, and he said, my boss always asks me, he's like, well, did you pray about it? Because we tend to do these things where we have a problem or something come up, and it's like, well, this is how we fix that.
Right.
And it's like, no. When I have the ability to connect with divine resources, why would I attack a problem that is so far beyond me without asking?
Yes.
And it's like not almost, every time that we do that, it sets our mind in the right order to be able to attack that problem and see that solution. So
love it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We could talk about that for hours. We just real brief. We brought a company pastor into our team a few years back, and I thought that that we would get a little bit of pushback from some of our people, and I have had numerous employees come and say that's one of the best decisions, if not the best decision the company has made in the history of the company.
Really?
And we're not out there pushing.
Yeah.
Like you just said, it's a resource. It's somebody that can go out to the job sites and connect with our employees. And he's done funerals, but he's done weddings. It's just he sends a weekly message. And I heard this a while back. It somebody said, and it's so true. We're not a Christian company. There are no Christian companies. There's Christian individuals or people of faith that act upon what they believe. And man, I screw plenty of stuff up, but our team is at all levels is kind of got this hard for others that ties into that.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the faith that you talk about is those principles align.
Yes.
I know many a businessman who doesn't believe what I believe, but they implement the principles because they work.
Sure.
They really do.
Sure.
And
our number one value is we care for others. Well, it's right there, right? It ties exactly with it. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Well, that's really cool to hear you say those of you who are listening, this is now just a conversation between Joshua and Dan. So you can veg out if you want, or no. The company that
Hopefully
I founded, one of their core values is we care.
Awesome.
And that we want to leave a positive impact. And I think that's something, regardless of what you believe in faith, that is a good business principle.
Sure.
We care because we want to make a difference. We want to invest, and we want to be about the future. So, Dan, where do you think the industry is at right now? You're in the heavy civil industry. We're talking about the trades and construction. What do you see in our industry? And just to touch on your one thing, you talk about the phone. The reality is you can't do business today without the phone. I recently had an epiphany that I can't do business without AI, and that hurt my soul because I am a old school person. But the reality is you've lived through different changes. Like you probably worked when there was a fax machine.
I did.
And so it's like there's some of you that are probably listening to this that have no idea what that is.
Right.
I remember
or a beeper.
Yeah. Well, and it's not a hashtag symbol, it's the pound symbol.
Exactly.
That was on the phone, Exactly. Having kind of lived through a couple of different generations or transitions, we'll call them.
Yes.
Where's the industry now?
I'd love the question, and unfortunately, there's good and bad, I think. So the negative is, I think, as an industry, we're way behind. You were just bringing it up in technology. I think compared to other industries, it's an area that we've always been behind. So we actually had somebody present to our team just last week on AI in construction. We started running our first autonomous roller, but really as an industry, we lack there, and I think there's huge room for improvement, and I hope that we embrace it. The first thing that everybody wants to say, well, that's going to take away our jobs or this, that, and the other. That's not going to be the case. Yeah. It'll modify how we do things, but it's not, the guy running the roller, now we got an autonomous roller. Now he's running the excavator, or he could do surveying. We need people in all areas. So in that regard, we've got some work to do. But on a much more positive side, I'm very hopeful. I see, I was mentioning earlier, we have 2 full-time high school recruiters, and we've hired, oh my goodness, over the last several years, over 100 high school students coming in. And we've got 4 or 5 foremen that are 23 years old, 24 years old. I mean, this idea of, the industry's in trouble, all the folks are retired that have the knowledge. Yes, that is happening.
Yeah.
In we're losing some of that knowledge, but what we've said is kind of to our point later that we spoke about earlier is, what legacy are you leaving? That's what we're telling these foremen, these superintendents that are about to retire. Nobody's going to remember what job you built. They're going to remember that you mentored this young guy.
That's right.
And your legacy is going to live for a long time. So I see so many great young people entering our industry that I am very hopeful. This mentality that everybody has to go to college, I think 20 years ago, that was like everybody was pushing that. Push for college. College, that's the only way. I'm seeing a turn in that. So to our point, I think God gives us all different abilities. Not everybody should go to college. Not everybody should be in the trades. But the future in the trades continues to be incredible. From a financial standpoint, you can make a great living doing what we do. So I am very hopeful about the future of the industry. I'm not a big believer of these people are saying, this generation doesn't want to work and all that. I think they're better than us at putting in the importance of family. And, I see my own son-in-law, it's like how much they do to help around the house and all that. They're much better than me. I think they have different qualities. They've grown up different, but they're smart and they work hard, and maybe they have figured it out even better than us of the importance of the right things in life. So I'm excited about the future.
Well, you talk about that, and I've said this before, but I'm a big I love the study of history, and I read a book once that talked about history has, like, I'm going to see if I can get this right. I'm sure the internet will correct me if I'm wrong. But history, in like an 80-year cycle, history has 4 turns where different things happen. And so, like, the reality is, in an 80-year turn of history, where are we at? So the 20s, then you had World War II, and that was a turn of history, created the boomers. Then, you come out and you have the .com. That's another turn of history. Here we are. We're in another turn of history. And in the book that I read, it talked about the different generations and how, you have the builder generation, the maintainer generation, you have the hero generation. And the reality is the generation that we're talking about right now is Generation Z. And they are the hero generation. In the same way that after the 1920s, we had the Great, Depression. And you talk about even when you talk about, oh, well, you need to go to school. Well, part of that was born out of, my grandfather lived through the Great Depression.
Sure.
And it was very, very different than when we talk about a recession or hardship now in the United States of America. Like, there were times that they didn't eat.
Exactly.
We don't. And let me be really clear. Yeah, there might be times where you can't get what you want to eat, but where your body is actually eating itself because you haven't eaten in weeks or whatever. Weeks might be ridiculous.
We've got it made.
Yeah, we really do.
Yes.
We really do. We don't know what hardship is. Just this morning, I was reading a book about standardized tests, and American children, their persistence level is about 9 seconds. And the Japanese children, their persistence level was about 13 point something seconds. They were 47% more likely to persist than we were. Listen, affluence is a nice thing, but comfort is a slow death.
Right.
And that's what, and I agree with you. I think the next generation is the heroes of our future. And I think that what our responsibility is, we've built these vehicles, companies, trades, these things that they can get into, but only if we start to welcome them into them, and only if we start to be able to provide an opportunity for them to get on the truck. You know what I mean? If we just keep driving and keep doing our thing, and live in that protect and defend, and I'm going to milk this for as long as I can do it, well, we're not long-term thinking, and inevitably it will end. Where if you can bring them into it and help train them, C.W. Matthews will be here in another 80 years.
Right.
And it'll look totally different.
Sure. Hopefully a lot better. Hopefully it'll continue to improve.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. When people talk about history and even our country when it started, there's some real negatives there that people talk about. But you can't say that we aren't trying to be better every day. I mean, and that's what we need to be doing. Just because things aren't as good as they could be doesn't mean you give up.
Absolutely.
So I love what you're saying there. And I think it leads right into the next thing that I wanted to ask you is, what would you say to our next generation of leaders? Like, you're here on this leadership retreat, which I just want to stop here for a second and draw some attention to you and your team for that. That is a huge investment. One, you're paying a firm, an outside firm, to teach you guys. That's not inexpensive. One, your leadership team is up here outside of the office doing this. That is not risky. I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I'm doing things like that, I'm thinking, well, I could be doing this, or I could be doing that. But you're stepping back and doing that. So what would you say? And I say that because I think that you have an authority to speak on it, because you're doing it. You're investing in that leadership. You're giving your leaders tools to be able to operate and to be able to deal with problems and issues and keep things moving. What do you say to the next generation of leaders?
This specific program is really first and foremost so they can find themselves and kind of look at areas where they can improve, and together form this bond. So it's a group of 20 that's going to eventually run and lead the company. So, what I would say to this young generation is, hey, the future's bright. Stick with it. This, again, it can be an industry that's very demanding, but it's not going anywhere. I mean, they're going to continue to build roads and bridges and improve our infrastructure. And if anything, there's a lot of work to do in that regard. And to your others, it doesn't matter what the trades are. I mean, it's something that I don't see going away. It can be improved with technology without a doubt, but my wish is that that people see our industry for what it really is. If you're from the outside, you're like, oh yeah, that's the last resort. The guy out there shoveling asphalt or running a roller. That's what you do when you didn't succeed at other stuff, and it kind of drives me crazy. I want people to be passionate, to see it as, man, this is an important role. Again, I love it because you get to see what you've built. I mean, we've done a couple of videos for our teams, and we don't have any playbook, anything that we tell them to rehearse. Just say, hey, how do you feel? And the common thread is always people saying, yeah, my wife, I drive my wife crazy because when we're driving down the road, I say, oh, I built that road, I built this. And we just recently did a new orientation video, and the same thing keeps coming up. Is, we had one of our ladies that's operating a doser. She's talking about it in the video about, how that she's so excited to tell her family the things she's building. So, my comment is, hey, stick with it. Those hard days, just go one more day and things will get better, and see it as a career, not just a job. And great things will happen.
If you put the work in, breakthrough is around the corner.
Absolutely.
Sure. And it's not, I think the one thing that I've realized over the years is that time is actually my friend. If something is taking long, and my faith, if you read the word, it talks about this a lot. Waiting is not always bad.
Right.
A matter of fact, usually for me, I want things and I want them now, like right now. And whether that's success, a job, and it actually doesn't go away. The older I get, I have learned, and so I'm quicker to get through it, but I still deal with that initial reaction. The reality is, waiting removes the things in me that need to get removed so that I can be successful to go where I want to go. And when we can do that, that really helps us to be able to have what people would call an overnight success. There is no such thing as an overnight success. Those overnight success stories were a lot of late night work hours. That's what they were, and consistently. So
great stuff.
So, Dan, this is probably our listeners' favorite question that I ask, because, when we gain titles and, we're on camera here, it's very two-dimensional. We're showing them what they want to see. We have lighting that makes us look really beautiful.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Not me, anyway.
And that's why I cover my face with a beard so that people don't see how hideous it really is. But we do all of this stuff to make it look a certain way. So people love the authenticity of us being honest about things that we've done wrong, mistakes that we've made. So, Dan, I want to ask you, what's a mistake that you've made in work or in life that you'd be willing to share with our listeners that you feel like they might be able to learn from?
You might need several more hours of this podcast. I've screwed plenty up. I would say probably the worst, one of the worst things that I have done, and finally, I think I finally have learned from it, is you kind of get attached to people that you want to pull for, right? Man. And you got this guy was a great laborer, and you're like, oh, he's going to be an excellent operator. And you move him to operator, and he is. And you're like, oh, Johnny, like I'm pulling for him. And Johnny becomes a foreman, and he does pretty good at that. And you're like, oh, I love Johnny. Let's move him to superintendent. And then all of a sudden, Johnny starts not doing very well at superintendent because Johnny was great at the technical aspect. But when you put him in the superintendent level and he's managing multiple projects and owners and people, that's just not his strength. So I would say that I've promoted at times people that didn't have, not that they weren't capable, because there are some people that are able to go through that path. Many of our employees started out that way and now leading teams. But what I want, and I talk to our superintendents and general superintendents, is like, again, tying it to faith, it's like God gives us all different talents. Yeah. And being a great foreman, to me, is just as important as being the best accountant we have, right? Yeah. Or the best plant manager. We all have gifts that we're great at. And And some people are able to lead large groups and some people are not. But that's okay. That doesn't mean that one's more important. The project manager is not more important than the superintendent. The superintendent's not more important than project manager. They all have different roles.
Yeah.
And if you kind of seeing that and not making that mistake that getting personally tied to somebody and put them in a situation that they're going to fail. I mean, I've made that mistake at least 10 times, right?
Yeah.
And then when you try to move somebody down to demote them or move them to another role, that normally doesn't work. They're disappointed. So I would say that really focus on seeing that person's gifts and study that before you move to the role. The other one, quick one, is just allowing people that are not team players, that are not wanting to work in a group for the success of the group, allowing them to stay too long in a role or in a company. So when you do that and then eventually it ends one way or the other, and somebody comes to you and says, I was wondering when you were going to make that decision. Or so years ago, I learned that if you fire somebody and they're surprised, that's my fault.
Yeah.
Nobody should ever be surprised when they're fired. So now I'm big into coach, but don't the third time, the fourth time, we're done. Like it's you firing yourself, not me. Yeah. I've given you opportunities to correct, but again, being somebody that gives feedback, it's very important. I preach on that. Give feedback. But if the person's not willing to be, step up, be part of the team, collaborate, then remove that person so that your whole entire team doesn't suffer. That would be my 2 or 3 nuggets there.
Those are really good and really deep. Like, we could talk about that for another hour.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. As leaders, what are we doing wrong that, because you that first mistake that you talked about, man, that's a hard one.
Yes.
And I wondered if you were going to get into it. Like, I had all these follow-up questions, but you just kept going and you answered them all.
Okay.
But I wondered if you were going to get into the fact of, well, once you do that, it almost is irreversible. I remember being in a job meeting, a job trailer, and a guy said, keep your bullets in your pocket, because once they leave the gun, you can't reach out and take them back.
It's tough.
And it's like, and there are people that can handle that, and man, that's a good person. Like, that's a team player that you want if they can handle that demotion. But honestly, as leaders, it's our responsibility not to put them in that situation in the first place.
Yes.
It's
our fault when we do.
What are we doing? Like, what can we change? And this is what I'm getting at. Like, there's this vision of the guy in the field that started being like, well, I need to become a project manager and then I'll have arrived. And it's like, that is not the case. I mean, you might be an operator the rest of your life, and that is not a failure.
Absolutely.
And so, like, and the reality is, because I know many a project manager that you do not want on a roller.
Without a doubt.
Me being one of them.
I was going to say, you don't want me running motor grader or doing that. That's not where my gifts are. My gifts are in a whole nother place. But without the motor grader operator or the paver operator, then they don't need me. So it takes all of us doing the role for this thing to succeed. So it's preaching and acting on that. If you have a foreman that is training all your future foremen in elevating his operators, and now all of a sudden, we need 3 more new foremen because we just picked up all this work. We have the biggest backlog we've ever had in the history of our company. Wow. So we're looking to promote within and all. I've got a foreman that's bringing people in through his crew and creating foremen. That guy's as valuable as me in the company, maybe more valuable. Yeah. So that's rewarding that, both with words of affirmation, which are great, but financially too. You got to reward that person financially, where he's being compensated as much as this superintendent or as this project manager or whatever. I've had young people, 1 or 2 young people at one time saying, "Hey, I saw where we're hiring foremen higher than project engineers," and I'm like, guys, if you want to run a paving crew on Friday night, then we're looking for people. Switch over here, and you will do it. So it's important to be transparent. I'm saying, hey, let make sure this thing of I was at one time, hey, nobody should know what the other's making or not. No, if you want this opportunity, this is what it pays. But understand that it comes with a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah.
But I think the important part is just making sure that everybody understands that, hey, being that foreman or being a superintendent or they're all important.
Yeah.
Being open about it, they're just different. And not everybody, like I said, you do not want me wiring you don't want me wiring anything because that's not my gift. That's not what I was taught to do.
Yeah.
So let's just the important part is not downplay. Like we tell our foremen, I mean, I've got foremen that are running $80 million projects, foremen and superintendents. Wow. That's bigger than most small firms.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm telling you. You're a business owner. You're not a foreman. Yeah. You're running this business. And so when we start to bring that up, to portray it that way, and to say, hey, you're important. You're as important as this other person here. It's just this is the gift that you have to build this road or to run that excavator. Then I think, it's not perfect. We're not there, but I'm saying that's what we're striving for.
That's good. I love that.
Yes.
Lastly, what would you say, you talked a lot. You talked about the next generation. You talked about, where we are as an industry. And you talked about companies and you talked about team players and not team players. What would you say to the person who is looking to get into the industry? What type of company should they be looking for? Because there's all different facets.
Sure.
And so it's like, people are listening to this, and I don't know if CW is in California yet, or Colorado, or Montana, or even Pennsylvania, but people are listening there.
Yes.
So what is the thing that they should be looking for in a company that they're wanting to get into the trades?
Oh, that's a great question. I would encourage them. We ask people to do this so often. Before you take that, go shadow. Call the company and say, hey, could I spend a day with you just to see what your culture's like and maybe to see if I'm a good fit for you? So, because everybody's going to tell you, oh, we love our people. People are our best asset. Everybody's saying that. Yeah. You got to make sure that you're going somewhere where that's truly the culture. So don't ask the HR person if they're a good company or even the president. Go ask the laborer, the guy on the roller.
Yeah.
Word gets out and say, is it a good place to work? Do they treat people fairly? And there's no perfect company. I mean, we're not perfect. We strive to care for our people, but we mess up. But I think in general, that would be my advice. And don't just go somewhere for the money. I mean, I get disappointed when we lose somebody for 50 cents or whatever, because I say, well, we did something wrong. And I'm a firm believer that even if the company has a great culture, I think we live and die by the immediate supervisor. So if that person's immediate supervisor is not caring for their employees, they are going to leave us for 50 cents. But the reality is, if we're doing what we're supposed to and caring for them and knowing their name and knowing their son's name and letting them go when there's a ball game and try to figure out, hey, we're gonna do this so he can attend this event or the dance recital or whatever. If the culture's that, then don't go for 50 cents, right? Or for $1, for $2 is. Be somewhere where people really know your name, care about. I mean, we have 1,850 employees, and one of the things that drives me crazy is at one point I knew most people's names. Now as we've grown and grown, but I definitely know all our foremen, supervisors, and all that because I want them to feel cared about. So that if I was starting or getting into, that's where I would go. And it doesn't have to be a big company. It doesn't have to be a small company. It just has to be the right fit that matches your values. But a great way to find that out is by calling somebody and saying, hey, would you mind if I shadow with you today? And if the company's not willing to do that, then that right there tells you, hey, that's probably not a good place to work.
I agree. I was literally going to ask that question, just like I was going to ask many other questions, and you answered it. And I think that is an essential fact, that if a company isn't willing to let you do that, well, then why? And if you have to ask that question, we'll look for a company who you don't have to ask that question of.
Sure.
So, yeah,
absolutely.
I totally agree. Well, Dan, I so appreciate you stepping up to the line, as we call it here at Blackline, and having a real and honest conversation about leadership, about C.W. Matthews, about the state of the industry and where we're going and where we want to go. I appreciate your honesty about your faith and what you believe and how you're implementing that. And it encourages me about our future to know that there are companies out there like CW that are investing in the next generation and building the world that I live in. That's encouraging to me. So
I have enjoyed it, loved the conversation. I could spend hours talking to you. So hopefully we'll get to connect. If you come back to Marietta, then we'd love to have you. Maybe you could join our podcast. I'd love for our employees
I would love that.
to listen to your story, which sounds amazing. So
I would love
very grateful for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dan. Thanks for stepping up to the line.
Yes, thank you.